to taking actions ourselves. So Amir has meant very, very much to me personally, and I know to you as well. Please reintroduce yourselves and us all to Mr. Amir Dossal. Thank you for being with us, Amir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patrick. You can imagine I paid Patrick a lot of money to say all these kind words. And now I'm broke. Before I start on this, I think you'll all agree that the reason you're here, you're concentrating, listening, engaged, is because of Patrick's passion and commitment to figure out how you guys can do some creative things in the world. I'm just an instrument of that passion to come here and help Patrick make this happen and the rest of the team here. So I'm grateful to be doing this. So a warm welcome to all of you. The subject today, by the way, is a very important issue. It's about post-2015 development agenda. I know it sounds very boring, it's typical UN title, but let me tell you what this is. The UN, way back in 2000, September 2000, at a heads of states meeting, where 147 heads of state and government came together and adopted the Millennium Development Goals and said that by 2015, these 8 goals and 18 targets should be achieved. What are the goals? Goals are very simple. Alleviate poverty by 50% in that 15-year period. Reduce the number of incidents of malaria, typhoid, etc. Provide access to new and communications technologies to people, and so on. Now the time has come for us to say those goals were very important. What did we achieve? How much did we achieve? But actually, there's still a lot more work to be done. While poverty has reduced substantially, and I would venture to say it's not just because governments have intervened, it's because the private sector has played a role. It's like young people like yourselves are playing that role. And how would you say it? It's about entrepreneurship, innovation. A number of you, I know, are passionate about doing well, but you're also passionate about doing good. And that passion is really what is needed to be spread. So today, we have a wonderful panel here who will talk to you about looking ahead, going forward, what do we need to do, what is being done, what the preparations for the agenda is. And then we will go back and say, how can you be engaged? And when you close, I have a surprise for you. I have something very interesting to show you. And therefore, if you go to sleep, if I hear anybody snoring, I'll ask them the question. Is that fair? So let me introduce the panel. The agenda, the way we'll proceed, if you agree, we'll invite each of the panelists to speak for 5 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A. I'm very pleased to see there's a gender balance here, or actually it's gender imbalance. We actually need more women on the panel. Maybe we'll have to do something about you two guys, actually. There's a medical service around the corner. So how about we start with the lady on my right who represents UNEP. How many of you have heard of UNEP? Yeah, great. So UNEP stands for the UN Environment Programme, and one of the biggest challenges faced by us in the international community is climate change. It's about sustainability. So the new goals, and you see them there, these are the discussion paper, if you like. There are 2 pages to it, and if I can just move to the second page for a second, it'll just show you. This report was just recently issued in May, at the end of May. The report was co-chaired by the President of Liberia, the President of Indonesia, and the Prime Minister of the UK. It's called the Post-2015 High-Level Panel Report. Over the next 18 months, there will be extensive discussions within the UN, including in these halls, On the 25th of September, there is a special meeting on the Millennium Development Goals taking place here, right here, where heads of states and government will be present to discuss this issue. So that agenda, by the way, you'll start seeing more and more in the public arena, and then that will finally be adopted in 2015 as the blueprint for action for the Sustainable Development Goals. So, how about Kehkashan, Basu? Yeah, you would like to come up and speak from here? And I would like you to say for 45 seconds what you do, and then I would like you to talk about how UNEP is focusing on the post-2015 development agenda in a way. So the only request from all of you is, what is the role of young people in every conversation you have? Is that fair? Please, welcome. It's very easy for Kehkashan because she's the global coordinator for children and youth. Welcome.
Can I please have the presentation? Thank you, Mr. Dossal. Hello, everyone. I am Kehkashan Basu, the Global Coordinator for the United Nations Environment Programme's Major Groups for Children and Youth, the Youth Advisor for World Future Council, and an active member of the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Today, I am going to talk to you about the post-2015 agenda and what matters to us, children. Next. Before I start, I would like to share with you the contents of my presentation. I shall start by introducing myself so as to impress on everyone present here that we children can be equally active in the sustainable development process as adults. Next. In February this year, I was elected as the Global Coordinator for the United Nations Environment Programme's Major Groups for Children and Youth. I am 13, and this is the first time in the 40-year history of UNEP that a child has been elected into this position. My green journey began when I was 8 years old. My work on sustainability resulted in me representing the UAE at the 2011 Tunza International Children and Youth Conference, where I spoke to the children about how they could make a difference. This was my first step into the international arena. Since then, I have been invited to over 30 international conferences where I have represented the voice of the children and youth. I play a leadership role as a member of several international organizations, and this has helped me to network across geographical boundaries. On my return from Rio Plus 20, I founded a youth organization called Green Hope UAE in order to carry forward the real legacy of sustainable development and green economy by involving the children and youth of my region. Next. These are some of the projects that we do. Next. So the point I am trying to make is that we children are a very potent force, and we are extremely concerned that we are marginalized and neglected in the sustainable development dialogue. We need more support and opportunities so that we can make a difference. Our voices need to be heard. So the question on everyone's lips is that, what should the post-2015 agenda and the goals be? The future that all of us are talking about here today belongs to children like me. We're the ones who'll be living through it, so why don't you ask us? 1/3 of the world's population comprises of us children. This is the world map by children population. In the developed world, only about 15% of the population are children, while in some countries in Africa, almost half the population are children. The developmental agenda must take into account the needs of its largest stakeholder, who are the children, and focus attention on where the needs are the highest. Rio Plus 20 was a path-breaking summit, and it was indeed a privilege for me to be able to attend it. But what surprised me was that, at 12 years, I was the youngest international participating delegate amongst 50,000 delegates. Isn't this another indication of how poorly children are represented even at the most important summit on sustainable development in recent times? The Rio Plus 20 outcome document agreed to develop a set of sustainable development goals which will build on the MDGs and converge into the post-2015 development. The outcome document seeks to establish an inclusive and transparent intergovernmental process which is open to all stakeholders. But is the process really inclusive of children, given the fact that we constitute 1/3 of the world's global population? The SDGs need to bridge the ever-widening North-South divide through global partnerships and collaborations. This has a direct impact on us children, as the child-adult ratio in the Global South is much higher than the Global North. The MDG target to halve the proportion of people without access to clean, safe drinking water was achieved in 2010, 5 years before its deadline in 2015. Yet the picture of this boy drinking contaminated water is a daily feature of the developing world. 1/3 of the world's food production is either wasted or lost, according to the FAO, while 20,000 children under the age of 5 die daily from hunger. Almost all this happens in the developing world. Next. The My World survey conducted by the United Nations this year was a great step and actually asked the people what they thought was important. But do you know how many children spoke up or were even asked? This must change. Please ask us children what we want as the goals. The greatest challenge or hurdle that we children face is the lack of access to education. What is the point of a survey if the children who are asked aren't even educated? How will they know their rights? Child education is the foremost goal that must be achieved, and we must start with the developing nations first. So we must target the nations that are most backward first. The indicators for success must be placed in the developing nations and not at a macro level. Begin first with where the child density is the highest, as shown on the map above. Simply put, the target must be to put every single child in school without any gender bias. Malala has shown the way. Let us ensure that another girl does not have to take a bullet for demanding something as fundamental as the right to go to school. The My World survey has vindicated this throughout, with education taking the highest number of votes. Land is a vital resource, especially with the global population now exceeding 7 billion. Yet, land is degrading rapidly in the last century. DLDD, which stands for desertification, land degradation, and drought, are key issues that must be a part of the post-2015 agenda. One of the SDGs must be to achieve land degradation neutrality. The Rio Plus 20 outcome document, paragraphs 205 to 209, states clearly the importance of the topic, and we need to carry this forward with all haste. To quote Mr. Luke Nakadja, the head of UNCCD, from his speech to the OWG on SDGs, the three keywords here to conclude are people, land, and stewardship. And please remember that enhancing soil anywhere enhances life everywhere. Next. As George Bernard Shaw said, we are made wise not by the recollection of our past, but by the responsibility for our future. Do we not have a responsibility towards the future of our children? We have an obligation towards nature, and we must ensure that we leave the human and natural environment in at least the same good conditions as it was received in. There is an immediate need to institutionalize the role of ombudspersons for the future generations at all levels, national, regional, and international. This must become the key of the post-2015 agenda. Intergenerational justice and solidarity must be at the core of any decisions of our future. Next. The girl child is at a distinct disadvantage in the developing world. Female infanticide is rampant. The girl child is targeted right from the womb. The post-2015 agenda must ensure protection for the unborn girl child and ensure that she gets the same opportunities without any gender bias. Next. Our voices need to be heard. Give us education and then hear us. We must have the opportunity to speak for ourselves. We are amongst the largest stakeholders of civil society. Let us have our say. The Rio Plus 20 outcome document states that the development of the Sustainable Development Goals must be universally applicable to all countries, while taking into account different national realities, capacities, and levels of development. As one of the largest stakeholders of civil society, we have the equal right to be involved in agenda setting, policy making, and implementation. Inclusivity has to be the key so that no section of civil society is at a disadvantage. Next. I will leave you with the words of Pearl S. Buck, who said, "The young do not know enough to be prudent, and therefore they attempt the impossible and achieve it generation after generation." Thank you.
Thank you, young lady, for the very inspiring presentation. Very well done, actually. I need to figure out how I can do my eloquency classes from her, actually. So I want to invite questions. You saw what UNEP has done, and it is indeed a first to have a young person, a truly young person, as being part of this global initiative. So thank you. Anybody would like to ask questions? You'll have an opportunity again. I'm sorry, we're a little bit tight for time. We have about less than 30 minutes, but in fact, 25. So I want to move right along, and I want to invite Willis. Willis, you have a wonderful story to tell about your International Youth Council, how you created that when you were inspired by what happened at the United Nations. So please come up. He's doing really path-breaking work in Kenya. So welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to this wonderful delegation attending the 12th United Nations Youth Assembly. My name is Willis Onyango, and I'm the chairperson of the International Youth Council in Kenya. I also recently got the honor of being approached to serve as WaterAid Youth Ambassador. I also champion an initiative that leverages on mobile telephony to garner and gather young voices in Africa in 10 countries to bring new perspectives using mobile telephony to the post-2015 development agenda. Over the last few years, I have had a privilege and an opportunity which is very unique to represent global youth voices in the outreach meetings taking the form and shape of town hall meetings that have been organized by the three co-chairs of the post-2015 development agenda, David Cameron, Salif Johnson, and Susilo Yudhoyono, a high-level panel that has been referenced before. We have had consultations with young people, consultations with the business community and networks of civil societies, right from London to Monrovia and to Bali, where essentially the rotational outreach meetings have been taking place. I am going to talk about issues that have been critical and emerging out of these consultations with young people, especially. My own personal opinion is that young people need to be given levers of economic and political power to pursue their full potential, with a creed that nothing for us without us. Those are my personal opinions, but I'm not here to represent my personal opinions. What I'm going to share with you is from a background of having been involved in the global conversation, as well as from the survey and data that is emerging from the mobile research that is taking place in 10 countries in Africa, as well as my role as WaterAid Youth Ambassador. There are 9 themes that young people have spoken about. One is governance. And in governance, young people have said that governments need to be honest, transparent, and accountable to the people they lead. That governments should be easily democratically elected and democratically removed from power. There has been a rallying cry that governments have to put their houses in order to provide spaces and the right environment through which young people can live their true potential. Young people have also talked about education as a critical enabler to access to employment or lack of it thereof. And we have said that we have to go beyond access to education and look at the affordability and the quality and the relevance of that kind of education, be it formal or informal. Here, I do not mean cramming young people and children and teaching them how to conjugate verbs. Quality has to be the overriding issue in the kind of education that young people and children get. Young people have also spoken about water and sanitation and its access. It's quite shameful that as we sit here today, a child in India looks at a bush and looks at a bush as a toilet. It is an acceptable situation that a child in sub-Saharan Africa has to choose between going to school and going to fetch water from the nearest river, which in most cases could be 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers away. What we have said is that an integrated approach to water, hygienic situations, and sanitation has to be a critical pillar in the post-2015 agenda moving forward. Young people have talked about equality, gender equality, that ensures that everybody has access to equal opportunity regardless of creed, age, gender, the geography they come from, the languages they speak, so that everybody is judged by the content of what is in their minds and not where they come from necessarily, or their gender or their ages, for equality and sustained prosperity for our world. The report that has been mentioned clearly outlines 5 critical transformational shifts of how to achieve the next development agenda. And overriding in this is that no one should be left behind. Indeed, no single young person, no single child should be left behind in the next development framework. So what can we do? There has been issues emerging that are so crucial and central, a lot of concern from the young people, a lot of expression of ideas of how to better envision and look at the future in an inclusive kind of development. Our interests as young people are common, be it here in America, in Africa, in Asia, or in Europe. But the language within which we express those interests are so different. I am optimistic because I think we can break these barriers and maximize the effect of our impact to create a domino effect in terms of what we can do in bringing rigor, science, evidence that is necessary to better inform policy post-2015. We have to get inspired to seek knowledge, to take leadership of our own lives, to realize the future that we want. I promise to lead myself and leave no one behind, and I hope you will join me in promising the same. We have to prove to the world that young people can do it, that we are not losers, that we are ministers, that we are a force for good. Leadership is a formula, and to me, the human person plus role models plus the right environment is equal to leadership. A story is told of 4 people as I conclude. Everyone, someone, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done by everybody. Nobody was sure of who would do it. Somebody got angry about this because they thought it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody would do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended that everybody blamed somebody, that nobody did what anybody could have done. Friends, live not for tomorrow what you can finish today. In the spirit of the chimpanzee movie that has been shown, I want to share a story of 2 African animals, the gazelle and the lion. Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the fastest lion, or it will be killed. Every morning in Africa, a lion wakes up. It knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle, or else it will starve to death. It doesn't matter whether you are a lion or a gazelle. When the sun gets up, we get running. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Willis. I appreciate what you're doing in Kenya. It's remarkable, actually. I'm really sorry we've run out of time for people to ask you questions, because I really want to take the other two speakers, and I do want to limit it to 5 minutes. And I also want you to think of a new way of speaking. You come across the problems. You actually, quite a few of you know the solutions. So we want to hear from you guys in terms of action. Tell us what you're doing to make the world a better place. How's that? So on that note, I'm going to sandwich the men in between, then I'm going to ask you in the end. So Prashanth, please come in. We saw the video, we saw what Jane Goodall is doing. As you know, she's the wonderful messenger of peace for the United Nations. She does great work. So would you like to come up to the podium? Thank you.
Before I begin, I just wanted to thank Mr. Amir Dossal for moderating such a fantastic discussion, and the FAF for providing an opportunity to serve on this panel alongside such phenomenal individuals. Earlier this week, Dr. Jane Goodall welcomed you all to this year's Youth Assembly, sharing her perspective on the importance of youth engagement around the Millennium Development Goals. And, as it happens, I'm here today as a part of the Jane Goodall Institute National Youth Leadership Council to share with you my thoughts as a youth, as a global citizen, and most importantly, as a human, on our future beyond 2015. The Millennium Development Goals have no doubt been a powerful catalyst for positive collaborative impact and improvement since their creation. The proportion of people living in extreme poverty has been halved at the global level. Literacy rates among youth are on the rise, and gender gaps are narrowing. But of course, we are here today discussing the MDGs post-2015 because our deadline is fast approaching, and we have not yet realized our goals as originally outlined. Looking to the future, I have found two global imperatives without which we will not be able to realize any progress post-2015 beyond what we have already accomplished. One, cross-cultural and transnational understanding, and two, youth leadership, not only communal, but personal as well. The reason I say cross-cultural and transnational understanding rather than peace, as most of us would more commonly peg as a global imperative, is because the root of any effective conflict resolution and reconciliation, at least as I've experienced, is understanding. And conflict has more than direct gateway correlations to child mortality, gender equality, universal education, poverty, etc., etc. As far as I'm concerned, relative stability in regions of conflict is a necessary prerequisite to progress on any other fronts of global development. And conflict is resolved by understanding. But funnily enough, not the understanding of or by governments, but the understanding of and by people. Any obstruction of understanding must be torn down, and as I sat in rooms of Pakistani, Afghani, Indian, and Palestinian, Israeli, Jordanian, and Egyptian youth, I realized that the gross media bias in these regions is one such obstruction that needs to be addressed in one capacity or another. It perpetuates hate and consequently conflict. In fact, one of my most recent endeavors is Peace Perspectives, an online publication that combats media bias in conflict regions by reporting a particular news development from all key relevant perspectives. We currently have over 100 correspondents from 8 different countries reporting on 3 different conflict zones, and we're growing every day. During the conflict resolution dialogues I had the privilege of partaking in, a Pakistani would be making his argument on a completely different set of facts than his Indian counterpart. Even cold, hard evidence is subject to opinion. There are no facts. There is no correct history. There are only different perspectives of history and different interpretations of reality. It's impossible to eliminate bias, so why not expose the citizenry to all biases instead and create an informed electorate capable of making its own decisions and judgments? Currently, we are covering the Palestine-Israel peace talks and the Egyptian revolution, but we have covered everything from the Mumbai blasts of 2011 to the Gaza bombings of 2012. Each perspective consists of a perspective piece written by our correspondents, all of whom are graduates of Seeds of Peace. An emotionally raw interview with an educated civilian, a compilation of political quotes by officials and representatives of that particular country, region, or demographic, and on occasion, supplementary pieces. Additionally, each article is introduced with a historical background piece and concluded with a third-party perspective. But what I believe to be truly beautiful about peace perspectives is that it presents everything in a very personal context. Our correspondents and interviewees share personal experiences with the conflict, offering the news through a human lens, not one of politics or analyses. It allows for at least the possibility of understanding between humans. Now for the second global imperative. Youth leadership will be absolutely essential, not only because, yes, the millennial generation, this generation, is the largest to date, numbering over 76 million alone in the US, but also because the youth are exceptionally positioned and skilled to take on today's challenges, specifically the Millennial Development Goals. The millennium generation has inherited a world of discord, environmental instability, destitution, economic disparity, intolerance, corruption, and resource depletion. But despite this disheartening truth, I don't believe our placement in history to be unfortunate, but rather a force of circumstance. In this climactic era of international connectivity and collaboration, the millennial generation has the unique capability to call upon each and every one of its members to unite for sustainability and in the fight for our future. We need to work towards a global state of existence of minimal conflict, environmental stability, just and open-minded societies, and overall good governance that operates in closed-loop cycles, maintaining and improving upon itself simultaneously, a redefined sustainability. If there's anything that I've taken away from the Jane Goodall Institute National Youth Leadership Council, it is that we, the youth, are ultimately the drivers of change. We are not the leaders of tomorrow, destined to be trained and molded until we inherit the mantle of responsibility. We are the movers and shakers of now. More programs like the JGI and YLC need to be committing their time and resources to providing access to opportunities for young change makers that will help them develop, flourish, and exponentially increase their impact. Even beyond being community leaders, youth are beginning to lead themselves personally into a more conscious lifestyle. They are the next big consumer group and workforce and have the power to completely overturn the global market towards environmentally considerate products, transform the meaning of ethics in the private sector, and ensure social equality in the face of discrimination and inequity. Our time with the MDGs is closing, and it's now that we have to look beyond 2015 and put together a game plan. Cross-cultural and transnational understanding, and youth leadership. As a youth, I can tell you that I am not done fighting for the world that was envisioned during the drafting of these goals. Beyond 2015, my vigor will only grow, and I hope that yours does as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashanth. So I now have one speaker. I have run out of time, actually. So one of the challenges is use the KISS principle. You know what the KISS principle is? No. Keep it short and simple. Kate, can I invite you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing? So the reason you had UNEP first, which is the UN organization focused on sustainable development, and we have the Institute for Sustainable Development, which is created in Canada, funded by the Canadian Industrial Development Organization, and also IDRC, actually, and they are like USAID equivalent. And please come in. So I want you to focus on post-2015 beyond the MDGs. Thank you.
Thanks so much. So as Amir said, my name is Kate, and I'm a writer with the International Institute for Sustainable Development. So we do all of the reporting on everything that's going on here in the UN. So we're part of all of the post-2015 processes, all of the post-Rio +20 processes, and actually get to sit in the rooms and listen to the ambassadors and ministers negotiate everything post-2015 that we've been talking about. So as a young person myself, I've had a lot of experience with youth voices being completely shut out of these rooms, these negotiation rooms. And so from my position now, being in them, I want to spread the knowledge with you that I've learned and give you kind of the lowdown of what's going on in the post-2015 process. So right now, you might have heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, but these are potentially is what's going to replace the Millennium Development Goals for the post-2015 period. So right now there is a group in the UN to negotiate these goals. It's called an Open Working Group, or OWG. There's also a lot of other contributions to figure out the post-2015 development agenda. There's been a lot of reports by the UN, by academia, by business sector, tons of consultations like Willis told us about all over the world, as well as special events like is going to be held this September to discuss what is going to come after the Millennium Development Goals. So in the Open Working Group, which I told you about, that is discussing the SDGs, ambassadors and ministers meet each month to discuss a wide variety of issues that might become the next Sustainable Development Goals. So you can imagine that there are many, many things that people want to be in these next goals. I think there was at one point 400 proposals for new goals. And each country has certain issues that's really important to them that they want in the new goals. Each individual person has something that they want a goal to be about. But some of the issues that are being discussed right now, under social goals, there is things like education, health, gender empowerment, conflict prevention, governance, sanitation, as we heard, is so necessary in many parts of the world. Under the environment sphere, there's things like climate change, transportation, sustainable consumption and production, oceans and biodiversity issues. And in economic issues, there's things like international trade, debt, and employment, social protection, these things that are really economically important to countries around the world. Now, I just described these issues in terms of their social, environmental, and economic dimensions, but as you can tell, kind of every issue is an overlap of all of these dimensions. So take food security. It's an environmental issue if croplands can't grow enough food for people to survive and feed themselves. It's a social issue if a lot of communities are going hungry each day. And it's an economic issue if people are so malnourished that they can't hold a job to work. So that's one of the challenges of this new agenda, is how can you address all three dimensions of sustainable development while also narrowing it down to clear and understandable goals. So that is something that the countries will also really need to look at when developing this new agenda, is how can these new goals actually be implemented on the ground? How can something that all of the world agree to make a change for somebody who's on the ground trying to feed their child in Africa? So that requires a lot of thinking about things like finance, how do we pay for this? A lot of things like measurability, how do you figure out the statistics of change that's going on in the communities? And governance, who is going to implement these? Is it going to be the national government? Is it going to be an NGO down on the ground? So these are a lot of the important issues going around in the ambassadors' minds, and you can tell that they're not very easy negotiations to follow sometimes. And then lastly, what's really important when thinking about it is where do the MDGs come into account? So there are a lot of important commitments that were made 13 years ago that have not been completely achieved yet, and where will these fit into the new post-2015 development agenda? So you're probably all wondering, where do we as young people get to impact or have any say in what's going on in this process? And I can tell you that youth are fundamentally important to this new agenda. I mean, think about it. It's for post-2015. So those are the 15 years that we as young people will become adults. We will enter the workforce. We'll become part of the governments that will be implementing these new goals. So we will actually be the agents of change that are implementing what the post-2015 agenda wants to get done. So it's all the more important that we have a say in what these goals look like and that we contemplate what we want them to include. So we all make kind of goals for ourselves every single day. We think about where we might want to go to school or what job we want. So why can't we do this collectively as a generation, think about the world we want to inhabit? So I challenge all of you to go back to your own families and friends and engage in discussions about what you want the world to be in 15, 20 years. Last year I was back where I grew up in Minnesota, which for those of you who don't know is in the middle of the country where it gets very cold. But I went to a 5th grade class and talked to them about what do you want to see when you grow up and you're adults? What do you want the world to look like for the post-2015 development agenda? And I can tell you that ambassadors could really learn a thing or two from those 10-year-olds in that classroom. So engage younger generations in this, but also engage older generations as well. Your mom and dad probably have a lot of thoughts for what they want you to do for your future. I know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mom and dad pushing me along. So they probably have really insightful ideas of what could be in the new global development agenda. So don't write off any opinions from anyone around you. Go and speak to them, talk to them about what could be important for achieving as a world. And then, after you've done that, had wide consultations, make your voices heard. You can now sit in this room, as all of your presidents will do in just a month's time, so you can see how you can so easily come to the UN and be a part of it and impact it, and don't let that die once you leave this room. Make your opinions heard to this forum, to many other forums, and find creative new ways that you can actually implement what is going on. It's not some policy that is just made in rooms and then is supposed to sit there. It's supposed to really impact the entire world, and you need to make that happen. So I encourage you all to come back here to the UN, to either come back here in this forum or another forum, to make presentations up here like I am right now, or to lobby your own governments for what you want them to do, but come back. We really need more young people in these halls at the UN. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So you got an insight with the intergovernmental process which is taking place right now. And by the way, you should visit the website post2015hlp.org. That's where you will see the report, which I showed you the 2 pages of it, which are the 10 suggested goals at this point. I say suggested because it's still up for discussion. And then there's another website. It's called theworldwewant2015.org, where you can actually contribute and give your views. As Kate said, you've got to be part of that process. And member states really welcome it. If you did a search, you'll see, if you did a search of post-2015 consultations, you will find quite a lot of information, and then you can select from that. So I am really sorry, time has run out. I promised you one thing, and because we need to take a break shortly. I mentioned to you about the Sustainable Development Goals. You heard about the power of communications. It's so important to reach out, learn from others, share your views. So I want to invite Hannah Assay up to the podium. Have you got your smartphones ready? I want to take you to a website. Please come up. I want to take you to a website called Wonderloop. Is that wonderloop.com? .me. So please explain the site.
Hi, everyone. So just a little bit about the background. I've grown up in a very small city, And when I was younger, I had a big inspiration on TV. Her name was Oprah Winfrey. She told me I could do anything I wanted, and around me, nobody quite thought like her. And I started to think, well, even though I'm in this small town, what type of a technology can I create that would connect me to the world out there? And I went to the bank and I asked for a loan, and they said no, and I went on and I worked, and today, 1 year later, we've now created what is the iPhone app, Wonderloop. And on this app, we share our dreams and goals, and we will match you guys with other people who can make those goals and dreams come true. So for you who have an iPhone, you can, as in the US App Store, you can download it. For the others, I'm working very hard to have it on other platforms as well. And let's say we can use the hashtag for today's conference too, and you can find each other in the iPhone app later on. So I just want to say thank you. Oh wow, fast. Thank you, Amir, and also Patrick for having me. And maybe we can send out the link later when it's out worldwide, and come over in the break if you want to help me spread this iPhone app also to your countries around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hannah. So the goal is for you to do a quick video about how much you enjoyed being here at the Youth Summit, Youth Assembly at the United Nations. And I think it's a 20-second video you can do, a little bit more, and talk about what you're going to do to change the world. That's the real challenge. So I want to stop here. I want to thank all of you for being patient. And I think we have a short break. Am I right, Chima? Do I have approval for a break? You have a short break before you come for the final closing ceremonies. I want to take this opportunity to thank our wonderful panelists. You know what, at my age we say, they are the future. I say to them, the future has arrived. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
You want to do that now? Just, Sebastian? Sebastian, can I have the LDI? Who's taking the picture? This is the picture?
Very quickly get a small little board. Very quickly.
A board?
Like a 20 by 20. Very small thing. You can just put it down here. You don't have to even hold it.
If you can hurry. I can't promise you. Okay?
You don't know how many pictures of you have been taken in your...
I know. I wouldn't know. They might know in the back in registration.
We probably don't want to start until we have that night up here because I don't want to just tear him away from me.
Well, no, we'll start when we have the ambassador.
Oh, I see. Where is she?
We're vamping. I have no idea. She should be here at 4:30. Here she is. Okay. Chuma, we need to get someone to rescue Ahmed. And Madam Ambassador is here. Can we have... Well, let's have Madam Ambassador and Ahmed sitting there. Can you guide them? Let me just take one picture here. Oh!
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Did you?
We were just vamping.
Say Mila kya?
It's okay. We were vamping. Everything's cool.
Take a picture. Take one more here. Jaldi lena aur
Her Excellency Simona Mikulescu, permanent representative of the mission of...
इंशु को बोलना एक लेने के लिए एक फोटो लेने को
Okay?
Nicolescu?
Did you take it away? Please? I announce you? I introduce you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can we please get Madam Ambassador and Ahmed? All right, folks, I think we are ready to begin. I know you're all excited to find out who among the final teams has received the awards. We are very, very proud and happy to be with among our greatest collaborators right now, and I'm just sort of waiting to see if you all can please take a seat. I know some of you have had to leave. It's been quite unfortunate that some people have had to get back to Washington, D.C. and elsewhere very quickly, but it's still a very nice-sized audience. I thank you all for being with us all the way through. We are here this afternoon with the Resolution Project to announce the winners of the social venture. Many of you have seen this at Salvation Army or were a part of this morning. What I'm most proud of is that the Special Envoy for Youth, Ahmed Al-Hindawi, and Her Excellency Simona Mikulescu, the permanent representative of the mission of Romania, are both here with us, and they have agreed to actually present the award to the two teams. So without any further ado, may I introduce one of the leaders, matter of fact, two of the leaders, but I think Oliver will take the lead in introducing everyone else behind him. I'd like to introduce Mr. Oliver Libby from the Resolution Project, our great philanthropist who has been helping us for several years now. Mr. Libby, here you are. Great.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I know the hour is late, and you've been through some extraordinary experiences here at the Youth Assembly at the United Nations. I promise the Resolution Project will not command too much of your time, but what we're here to do is something that I think is an important component of any gathering like the Youth Assembly. We have exchanged with you throughout the past few days some extraordinary ideas, some valuable education, some connections and networks that you will have for the rest of your lives. The one thing that the Resolution Project is here to help do is provide a pathway to action, something that creates impact beyond the last day of this conference. And so we've invited a number of the excellent delegates here at the Youth Assembly to propose social ventures through what we call the Social Venture Challenge here at the Youth Assembly. And Resolution is very pleased to announce that we had 21 excellent submissions this year for the competitors. And I just want to pause to say a huge congratulations to every competitor. I will give you only one small statistic, which is that each year that we have partnered here with the Youth Assembly, and this is our third time here, we've received more extraordinary proposals, and that means that all of you are hearing this and you're being inspired by the process of a pathway to action, and that is inspiring to us. I think it's also fitting to say that the Resolution Project was founded in partnership with a Model United Nations conference many years ago. So it's really coming home for us to be here at the United Nations, and it's such an honor for us to have two august personages from the UN universe here with us. Her Excellency, the Permanent Representative for the Mission of Romania, Simona Miculescu, and Ahmed Al-Handawi, who you know is the Special Envoy for Youth appointed by the Secretary General himself. And it's an honor for us to be here on stage with the two of them. Please. I want to spend just 1 minute to describe to you what the process is and what, in fact, the competitors have been competing for. I wonder if any of you have ever been told that you were leaders of the future. Has that ever happened? Yes, I heard a yes. All of you, yes. Well, one of the things that Resolution stands for is we believe that being a leader of the future doesn't have to wait until tomorrow, that it can begin now, that sometimes being called a leader of the future is being told not yet, but in fact, many of you here are taking action today. So the Social Venture Challenge offers to its winners what we call the Resolution Fellowship. This comes with not only seed funding to start a social venture, it also comes with mentorship, with access to resources, to our partners around the world, and to an extraordinary network of experts who are here only to help the young leaders who we select execute the social ventures that they've proposed. So without further ado, and with no more details from me, I would like to introduce George Sciarratta, the president of Resolution and the co-founder, to announce the winners of this year's competition.
Thank you, Oliver. Was this thing on? This one? Yep. Put them together. Okay, great. Terrific. Thanks so much, Oliver, and thanks again to the Youth Assembly and everyone here for joining us and participating. It's been a great honor and a privilege to be back again. I'm going to just briefly read off the plaque that we'll be distributing to our newest fellows. It reads, Resolution Fellowship, presented to social entrepreneurs for outstanding dedication to sustainable impact, innovation, teamwork, and a powerful commitment to making positive change and helping others. This is what these individuals have showcased over the past couple of days, and it's going to be an honor and a privilege for the organization to work with them. So without further ado, the newest members, and actually the first members of this year's class of Resolution Fellows. So first, yeah, autocomplete strikes again. Bernard Botchway, The New African Project. Bernard is creating a social innovation incubator in Ghana to provide mentorship and partnership to young entrepreneurs seeking a like-minded community dedicated to a better Africa. And yes, if the second team of fellows is Hainao Wu and Rui Gao with Children of the Stars. They're providing art and music therapy courses to autistic children in Shanghai while also creating and selling bags with some of the artwork to raise awareness in Hong Kong. Our next team of fellows, Christina Safran, Ashley Tritt, and Leanna Roseman with Project Heal Family Network. You can come up. Congratulations. Christina, Ashley, and Leanna are providing support groups and family networks for families of individuals suffering from eating disorders. And the last team that we have to announce is Mariam Geriashvili and Akaki Gotsiridze. With Career Development and Job Recruitment Center, they're providing Abkhazian IDPs with a career center and training to help them put their education and skills to use in the Georgian business world. So a big congratulations to the teams that and to our newest fellows, really. And thank you again to everyone who participated. I'm just going to pass the microphone back to Oliver for a couple of closing words.
Thank you very much. So you have in front of you here some extraordinary young social entrepreneurs who are going to leave the conference after this extraordinary experience, and they're going to go home and change their communities and communities they care about around the world. I just want to give a word of thanks to a few people without whom this would not be possible. First and foremost, to Patrick and the entire Youth Assembly team. We are inspired by what you were able to put together. We also owe great thanks to the United Nations, to the extraordinary people who joined us on stage here, and to the entire organization, which I think we can all agree is a light in the world in need of a lot of help. So the United Nations, thank you. I would also like to thank the Resolution team. We have a team of staff and volunteers who attended, over 20 people over the course of the last 2 days. This would not be possible without them and without our community of supporters that includes some extraordinary organizations like Delta Airlines, for example, who are here with us today. So we thank them, the Resolution team, for helping us make this a reality. And finally, and so that we can wrap up this happy occasion, once again, to all of the Social Venture Challenge winners and to all the competitors, we do this for you. We are inspired by your leadership, and we commend all the rest of you in future years to come back with your own ideas so we can help you change the world now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, 6:30, 39. Same place, you know it. Hey, wasn't that phenomenal? Please, another round of applause, very quickly. Yay! That was phenomenal. And you know, next year that could be you. Next year, that could be any one of you or any one of your friends. I want to call up our artistic director, Yin-Chu Jo, once again. Yin-Chu Jo is the artistic director of Friendship Ambassadors Foundation. She has a very quick announcement about that slide-in that you've had in your program, about the CD that is coming out. We have a CD launch coming up and a brand new CD that's coming out with some great music that Yin-Chu is going to speak about now. Ms. Jo?
Thank you, Patrick, for the introduction. I just wanted to take this brief opportunity, since we have our lead endorser and host, Madam Ambassador Simona Miculescu, with us. And we also heard from a couple of you who are interested in buying the CD. If you look at your folders, can you open your folders once again? There is a sheet inside there asking you to sign up for our CD. It's the Ambassadors Sing for Peace CD. And for me, this is a very special CD project. As organizers of the Youth Assembly, we are also very proud to announce this Ambassadors Sing for Peace. It's a very inspiring world peace themed CD, and for the first time in the history of the UN and in diplomacy, and I think for the world for that matter, 5 permanent representatives to the UN from 5 different countries come together to sing for peace. And as part of our 40th anniversary celebration of the foundation, we are very honored and humbled to be part of this process and to make this dream come true. This CD was initiated by Madam Ambassador herself, who is also known as the singing ambassador among the PRs, the permanent representatives here at the UN. So we hope that you will sign up for this CD. The CD launch is not until September 10, but Funds that will be raised from the sales of this CD will help us improve our youth programs for you, for other young leaders like you, and for generations to come. And this effort, this important diplomatic and artistic effort was initiated by Her Excellency, and she brought together the 5 prominent ambassadors to the UN to step out of their normal diplomatic roles and utilize their special musical talents to promote peace and support youth leadership programs that we at Friendship Ambassadors organize. So as a member of the Youth Assembly Network, if you sign up today, you will receive a 15% discount. So if you sign up now and turn in the sheet at the end of the program there to our Youth Assembly staff at the back, there are excellent songs that are exciting and fun songs included in this CD, including songs by Bob Marley and John Lennon, and just a lot of fun stuff. I hope you will support us and buy this CD today. Thank you.
Folks, someone left a laptop. And if you are without your laptop, please come up to us at the end, and we will fetch it to you. No, don't put it up. Then somebody can lie. That's why you hide it. Oh, yeah, you're too honest, my friend. So at any rate, please do come up at the end. It's my great pleasure now to introduce the person who will give us our closing talk. And our closing address is very important to us. It's a great way to send you off with a wonderful feeling and a great idea for you to now propel all these ideas that you've had here into the future. I would like to, without any further ado, introduce Mr. Taylor Conroy. He is the founder of Change Heroes. It's a social enterprise, and it has funded 60 schools and libraries in 9 developing countries. I think we have a lot to learn from him, and I'm grateful very much for his presence. I'm very proud to introduce Mr. Taylor Conroy.
Hi there. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging Patrick and Clavisa. Could you stand up, both of you, please? These are the organizers of your conference. I think they did a fantastic job. Patrick hates being up here. And I'd also like to say a special thank you to Tammy Kesselman, who's the first person to bring me in here last year, which is why I'm here today. And I'm very excited to share a story with you two, or with 800 of you. And actually, when I first started talking to Patrick and Clavisa, they wanted me to know 2 things. The first thing is that they wanted me to know who I was talking to. And they talked about you as being 800 of our world's future leaders. That was the first thing we talked about, and it was the first thing we absolutely disagreed about. Because as the gentleman previous to me mentioned as well, and what you guys have learned over the last 3 days about the Millennium Development Goals and the gap between where we are and where we want to be, is that none of us have time to be the world's future leaders. Every single one of us in the room, myself included, has to step up and be the leaders of the world right fricking now. Yes. Thank you. And the second thing that we talked about was youth leadership. They said, Taylor, we'd really love for you to talk about youth leadership. And I didn't tell either of them this, but I don't know anything about youth leadership. All I know is how to take massive action. And the funny thing is, when you take action, people start to follow you. And when people start to follow you, other people start labeling you as a leader. So I'm here today to talk to you, to tell you a story about one person who got a couple friends involved in taking really small actions that has now grown into a movement that I can humbly say is now impacting tens of thousands of people all over the world. This story started 4 years ago, and that's when I first started asking myself the question, what will it take to educate every single child on Earth? And I'm also not a podium speaker by any means, hence the purple tie and red shirt. So I'm going to step down and talk to you from there. Can you guys hear me okay? At the back? Yeah. So 4 years ago is when I started asking this question: what will it take to educate every child on Earth? And I tell you, that's a question that never, ever, ever crossed the mind of this guy. I'm not sure if the term realtor is universal. Does everyone know what a realtor is here? Maybe not. If not, this kind of guy is in every country, no matter what. Does everyone know the term cheesy? Maybe greasy, maybe? That's me 5 years ago with frosted blonde tips, a fake tan. And I was a realtor. And I like showing that and this insane picture. Because I hope you know that's Photoshop. My head's not that big in a car. I like showing these pictures because to me these represent the climax of my outward search for happiness. I was 28 at the time. I had just spent my whole entire adult life chasing after goal after goal after goal, financial goals. I had a really fast motorcycle, which I was really proud of, and a new truck and a house by the ocean. Close to this time, I had recently become a millionaire, which I thought would make me fulfilled and happy. And after achieving goal after goal after goal, I realized over and over and over again that none of them would bring any lasting fulfillment whatsoever. This guy on the screen with the big cheesy smile, he was completely, profoundly, and hopelessly empty. So I know this room knows better than anyone else, what does a total newbie Westerner do when he wants to try to find fulfillment? Where would he go? Hollywood? I went to Africa. Yeah, very Westerner thing to do. So I went to Uganda and I went to Kenya and I went to a number of different villages. This was the first. And it was gorgeous. There were steep hillsides, lush jungle, and the best part about it was these kids. They were chasing us around, joking around, laughing. It was a blast. I felt like it was in the middle of a National Geographic magazine. And after we started visiting with some of the village elders, we realized that there's some things that these kids, they don't realize. Like these ones, in this village, in particular in the Rwenzori Mountains in Uganda, they don't realize that half of these people, half of their friends and their family and their village has AIDS. They don't realize that the young ones, like before the age of 5, like that little girl in the blue dress to the left of the picture, she has a higher chance of dying before the age of 5 than living. And the people that have it the worst in this village are the girls. They've got it the worst for about 1,000 reasons. One of which being that in this village, it's typical for girls like this to get married at as young as 11 or 12 to a much older man and spend the rest of their life working tirelessly and having as many babies as that man would like. This was a big moment, awakening kind of thing for me. I remember meeting these girls and looking into their eyes, knowing what they had in store, knowing I could do nothing about it, and just feeling complete hopelessness. But the next village that we went to, though it had a similar culture, something really, really different was going on with the kids. Because an organization called Free the Children was working here, and they were building schools. And in these schools, these kids, they're not just learning math and science and geography and social studies. These kids are learning about family planning, gender equality, how to prevent diseases like AIDS. So in short, these girls, like the ones at the front of the room, they're not getting married at the age of 11 or 12. Because when a girl in the developing world receives an education, she marries an average of 4 years later and has 2.2 fewer children. Clicker malfunction. A child born to a mother that can read is 50% more likely to survive past the age of 5. And as all of you know, every year a girl goes to school increases her earning potential by up to 20%. Now, this trip only lasted about a month, but as soon as I got home, I knew the effects were going to last a lifetime. I remember walking into my first grocery store. When I got back, walking about 5 steps in the door, seeing these mountains of food that we have available to us, and just crying. I remember driving past a schoolyard here, where education is a right to every single child, and having the exact same reaction. And that's when the question started burning in my mind. What will it take to educate every single child on Earth? And I knew my place in the philanthropic world wasn't going to be going back to Kenya or Uganda to build schools. I'm completely useless at building anything. And I also knew that I wasn't going to go back and hold orphans because I would probably drop them. So I found my spot in the philanthropic world was in fundraising. Through a lot of research, I realized that there's organizations like Free the Children all over the world, and nearly every single country ready to reach every single child. They simply lack the funding to do so. So I decided I wanted to be the bridge between those two worlds. And I started investigating everything I could about fundraising. I studied what was working, what wasn't working. I researched, I did experiments in giving. I tried to invent a couple brand new ways of fundraising, which totally flopped. But after years of research and experiments and trial and error, I came up with an equation that I truly believe, as you can see I'm pretty excited about it, will work in nearly every age, race, gender, and geographic sector in the developed world. And it goes like this. 33 people giving $3.33 a day for 3 months. Anybody got some quick math? Equals $10,000. That $10,000 is enough to build a schoolroom like the one that I visited in Kenya that will educate and empower 50 children per year for an average length of 20 years. That's 1,000 children that would get to use that schoolroom from a bunch of people getting together and giving the price of a cup of coffee a day for 3 months. So as soon as I had this idea, my head was like exploding. I was like, this is it. This is going to work. I knew I just needed to test it. So I sat down at home, got out my notebook, and I wrote down 33 unsuspecting friends and anyone who owed me a favor. And before I sent them anything, I didn't want to email them and say, hey, just give me $3.33 a day and I'll do something great with it. I wanted to give them all the information that they could possibly need about the organization. So I made them a little video, and it went like this. It said, we're going to get together to build a school for hundreds and hundreds of kids. Everyone's going to get a Facebook cover photo and a tax receipt. It's the same price as a cup of coffee or a slice of pizza or parking downtown for 2 hours. We said is less than the tip that you would leave at a restaurant. And we finished it off by saying, and your mom is going to be so proud of you if you build a school. And before I sent that out to my 33 friends, I wanted them to feel really included, like they knew that I picked them specifically. I wasn't just spamming 1,000 people with this video. So on my webcam, I made every single one of those 33 people a personal video saying, for example, if I was sending it to Patrick, it would say, Patrick, we've been friends for a while. I know you're going to love this initiative. We're going to build a school in Kenya. It's going to educate 1,000 children. All it costs is $3.33 a day. You're a high roller. I know you can afford that. And I sent that, we looped that into the animated video on a donation page like this. So the personal video would play, the animated video would play after that. It's about 3 minutes long. Tell Patrick everything that he needed to know about the project, inspire him to give. And all Patrick would have to do is take less than a minute to enter his credit card information to the right, and he would be done. I hoped it would work. I sent it out to 33 friends, crossed my fingers, and very shortly after, $10,000 came in. And right now, there's a school in a village called Mwangaza in rural Kenya. Anybody here from Kenya? Couple? In rural Kenya, there's one, that is teaching kids how to read, to write, to count, and every day is full of children learning things that their parents are not equipped to teach them. I can tell you right now, in raw authenticity, that all the money in the world, the fast motorcycles, the houses by the ocean, the stupid smart cars, none of that can touch the way that this school that my friends got together to help me build makes me feel. So after this, my head again was like exploding with ideas. I thought this could go. We could scale this. Other people could get their 33 friends together to give $3.33 a day for 3 months to build a school as well. So I met with my friend Elton, and I said, Elton, I need you to be my guinea pig. He said, I love it. I love the idea, but my family's from India. Can we build a school in India? And I said, absolutely. Free the Children works there as well. So Elton did the same thing that I did. He made a list of 33 friends. Actually, Elton's a massive overachiever. He made a list of 50 friends. He's always got a one at me. And he made them all a personal video. We put it on the donation page. And I'll never forget, it was a Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock when we sent those videos out. And I said to Elton, now Elton, don't get your hopes too high. Like, just try to get a donor a day. Get one tomorrow, which would be Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. If you do one a day for 33 days, you'll have raised $10,000 in a month. That's pretty badass. He said, yeah, sounds great. He sent it out Monday afternoon. I went home, crossed my fingers, and Elton called me on Tuesday. He said, Taylor, we did it. I said, yes, you got a donor. Fantastic. It was your mom, wasn't it? I knew it, Elton. You're such a mama's boy. And he said, no, Taylor, we've got 33 donors. The school is fully funded. In one day, Elton raised $10,000 to build a school in India for 1,000 children. And the next day, Wednesday, I'm the happiest guy on earth. Elton calls me again and he says, Taylor, you're never going to believe what just happened. I was like, dude, I'm the happiest guy on earth right now, but dude, tell me what happened. He said, I started to spread my campaign on Facebook. I got people giving that I don't even know. We just hit 66 donors. And in 2 days, Elton raised $20,000 to build 2 schools in India. Overall, Elton had over 80 people give to his campaign, and that was it. I sold the smart car, I sold my real estate company, my business, my house, I sold everything that I owned to start a social enterprise. Decided we're going to call it Change Heroes, and its mission is going to be educating every single child on earth. So first we had 10 people do what Elton did, then 20, then 30. And soon we had funded 30 schoolhouses that will help educate and empower 30,000 children all over the world. Thank you. And from there, the more I got in, more this Westerner got into the philanthropic space, the more I learned that we're not going to educate every single child on earth by just slapping up a whole bunch of schoolhouses. So we started branching out. We started funding libraries, like this one in Cambodia, that would come stocked with 1,000 books written in the village's local language to reach every single child in villages where they just don't have the tools and resources to teach their children literacy. And we started branching out further. We started trying to use this $3.33 thing on scholarships for girls. And it kept working over and over and over again. So we've tested this now over the last 2 years on 100 people all across North America, 25 different cities, everyone with different jobs, different lifestyles, to see if it worked in every single demographic. And over the last 2 years, just in beta, we've raised $600,000, funding 60 projects in 9 countries that will help educate and empower 60,000 children, which I'm pretty happy about. And that was just in beta. So right now, this is literally the most exciting, ridiculously exciting, and humble time of my life, because it's finally done. After 2 years of testing and trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't work, some people raising $20,000, some people raising $2,000. It's finally ready, and anyone can go online, get their 33 friends together to give $3.33 a day for 3 months, and raise $10,000 to impact 1,000 children. Now, all of this started because of 2 girls that I met on my first trip to Africa. And now, I'm doing this for another reason. And this is Tasia. She's my daughter. And I want Tasia to grow up in a world where every single child on earth has access to education, has an opportunity, and has a choice in their life. Thank you.
And may I ask Nob to come up and get ready? I'm just going to make a few closing remarks, but I want to make sure that you're ready so that we can all move together to the end of the program. First of all, though, as Nob is getting set, as I close, I want to mention all of those who have really worked tirelessly to ensure that this wonderful event came about. They all worked behind the scenes. Many of them are youth, and all of them worked in your name tirelessly all summer just to make these 3 days. I was just saying before, these 3 days were like a great tryout. Now I'd like to do it once a week, every week, right up to the General Assembly. Where, I don't know, but I think it would be a nice idea if we could pull that off. At any rate, The young woman who sat by my side this entire time and took all of my grief and did a great job with a loving soul working with me, Clarissa Kovaci, our program coordinator. She's done so much to make this happen. Thank you, Clarissa. I certainly could not have done this without you. Olivia Singer, who I have no idea where she is, our project coordinator, has really coordinated the entire project with us, working with Clarissa and me. I thank you for that. Let me just read off a bunch of names so that we don't stay here forever, but I'm indebted to virtually everyone, especially Yin-Chu Zhou, Victor Izquierdo, Yanyu Lee, and Ana Maria Lebada from my staff, who are amazing. And they had their summer intern fellows working with them, who I'm not sure if they're all here, but Thomas, Grace, Miriam, Jolly, Clara, Aliana, and of course our famous YA technician, our fellow Chakuma here. All of them were a tremendous help doing the legwork to make sure every single thing that we had hoped to do would actually get done. Thank you all, my friends. I'd like to also thank Katlan, Beatrice, Elena, who are from the Romanian mission and alongside the Romanian mission, helped Her Excellency, Madam Ambassador, lead us through this entire program. They were not only our lead endorsers, but they were hosts extraordinaire. Thank you. Thank you so, so very much for all of your help. And Jamie, Lindsay, Nicole, the fantastic leaders and volunteers, Esperanza's here as well, from the International Youth Council, the alumni organization of the YA each summer. They marshaled about 25 volunteers to help take us in and out of this building to missions and elsewhere. And I know it was packed crowded at their workshop this afternoon in Conference Room E when they spoke about the Millennium Development Pledge. The Millennium Pledge, which they believe in very strongly, is one that I think we should all take. Get onto their site, internationalyouthcouncil.com, and take that Millennium Pledge. I thank you all, every person who has helped us, and I'm sorry that time does not permit us to name you all, but we thank you all. When I was young, I used to perform magic tricks. I did it to make a living. But I knew that they were really just tricks. But here, in this large room, for the first time in a long time, I've seen real magic. And it exists between each one of you. Because of what you've experienced, learned, shared during networking and the off times and the exchange, in your hearts, in your spirits, there is a magic. And in the creation of these new relationships, these new outlooks, and these new possibilities. I think you know what I mean. We have all heard from very special people, and we're about to hear from another one shortly, who have made this event magic. Perhaps you cannot see this magic, but indeed we cannot see the magic of the wind, or what a spirit is inside of a lifeless body that brings life to us all. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry once wrote, "What is essential is invisible to the eye. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly." Though you cannot see this energy, this magic, it is there. And it is the reason we choose to gather in groups and gatherings such as these. It is where we transmit the energy we feel on topics such as global development and create new ways of thinking simply by meeting and by experiencing each other. That is magic. During the pre-Youth Assembly program, I met a young woman, Anna, who is a phenomenal young musician, a drummer. We have another phenomenal musician with us now, Nob. What I find amazing about music is that music does not exist within the notes. Music is what happens between the notes. Whatever happens when a great musician makes music, we don't notice it, but it is what happens between each note and how they get to each note, and that is how we judge music, and that is why music is magic. Being changed forever by a meeting, by a speech you heard, a group of talented youth leaders you met, by listening to your music together with your friends, change forever in life. That is magic. When you who are abroad watching this presentation are changed thousands of miles away, changed by what you heard in this great hall, magic. Yes, when I was a kid, I played at tricks. But you all together before me, at home and around the world, watching us, are sharing a movement for change across generations. All those energies, synergies, possibilities can and will change the world for the better in our future. To you, the change makers, all I say is continue to let the magic stream between you. You have graduated now from our version of Hogwarts. Now go and make magic together. Make your world a better place for all. I bless you. Go in peace. Nob, I introduce you. Please send us out with music magic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nobu. Thank you very much for inviting us. I wonder if you can. Your heart in your hand. Imagine all the people shall know the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. No, I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Great job!
Thank you.
Everybody, everyone, thank you very much.
Now, everyone, take care. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye-bye, all.